What if I told you that with every artwork you make that doesn't go well, that feels rubbish, that makes you feel that you're just no good as an artist, is actually increasing the value of your artwork? That's what I want to talk about in today's episode. Hear me out. I was just thinking about this the other day as I threw away 50,000 words of my book. And I did a reel on this topic actually and got some great insight from people around this conversation of what goes into an artwork behind the scenes. And I think it's a really good conversation to have, because when we create a piece of work, and my friend Sharon has said this in the past, that, when she creates a piece of artwork, people are seeing that artwork as the finished result. But actually what people don't see are the sometimes hundreds of works that have gone before that, the sketchbook experimental pieces, the smashed pieces that blew up in the kiln, all the pieces that didn't actually work to get to that piece. And the same for writing, you'll see the finished book, and this goes for any kind of author. There aren't many authors that just write a book and just write it and that's it, it's finished. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes of any creative work. Even when you think of dancers, the amount of hours a dancer will put in to perfect a performance on the stage. They didn't just get out of bed that day and just dance like that. They have put hours and hours and hours of training and practice and attempts to spin and fall down, and they have to get back up again and perfect that spin. And the same for art. And what's happening with every single failure and everything that you do wrong, you are perfecting and growing and learning. Eventually you're going to have a piece that's going to knock people's socks off and go, wow, that's incredible. And you go, yeah, I know. I spent hours and hours and days, years. And someone said to me the other day, now when someone asks, how long did this work take you? I'm going to reply, it took me a lifetime, because it did. And someone even came back to me and said, but I'm a beginner. I've only been making a couple of weeks, so I don't feel like I can add that value to the price of my artwork. But here's the thing, just because you're just beginning now doesn't mean that you aren't bringing your previous life's experience into what you're making. The reason that you're making that art right now as a beginner is because of something happening in your life that's been the catalyst for you making in this moment. But when you start to learn the process of making art, you'll learn the techniques and you'll be playing around with materials. You will start to build upon your life experiences. What you bring to your art is what you've experienced, what you've seen, the person you are. That's what you're bringing to the work. That's the value. And so don't disregard it if you're new, because you haven't got all these years of training. And that doesn't dictate the value of your artwork, by the way. You can certainly start making art this week and price it at a price that competes with other people that have been making art for 20 odd years, because there are so many different factors that affect pricing. The crux of it, though, is that you've got a piece of artwork, somebody else wants it, and if that happens, you hit the sweet spot. That's what determines the price. The price of an artwork is the artwork is worth what someone is willing to pay. And so even if you've just started making art and you haven't got years and years and years of experience and trial and error, that doesn't mean that your art isn't valued at a higher price point, or it can't be. What we're saying here is that with every failure and every piece that you have made in the past, that is contributing towards you becoming that artist, and that is increasing the value. And so I wanted you to just take a minute to really think about that, even as a beginner, that sometimes we disregard those points of, oh, this hasn't worked out. Oh, this is rubbish. And as a beginner, you need to know this, that with every piece that you make, you are going to be adding value to your future work. And I love that feeling, to think that in this moment, that everything that we're creating, everything that I'm writing right now, everything that I'm doing, the struggle that's real, I know is adding to the value of my work in the future. It could be 3 years from now. I know that all of this is contributing towards something that I'm going to make in the future. And it's because of this moment now, because of all these words that I've scrapped. This is making me a better person. It's making me connect with my creativity on a deeper level. I'm learning more about how to articulate what it is that I'm doing and how to bring things down into a concise way. And it's all coming together, the art making, the writing. And I know that that's adding value to what I do in the future. And it's such a great feeling. And I think if you can adopt that when you are going through that process yourself, knowing that it's not just in the moment, this piece is just not right here, right now, not working. This is this moment teaching me something about being a great artist in the future. This is going to, I'll look back at this moment and think, yeah, that failed piece brought me here. And I think that's lovely. I think it's so beautiful. Again, it's that trusting the process of everything working out in the right way at the right time, but seeing so much more from these failed pieces than just like, oh, I'm so rubbish. So knowing that can add the value to your artwork. But I want to go back to that point of, if you haven't got the hours and hours and hours of being an artist, that, it's not necessarily about that either. And this is where we've got to just open our minds to being a creative, that you can be an artist in any kind of capacity, with any kind of life skill, with any stage, any age. And it doesn't really matter, because art is a visual language. It's a creative pursuit. And when you realize this in yourself, that you are saying something through your art, you can look at all the factors that affect pricing. But ultimately, it's about understanding where you are right now and what you have, and how does this connect with other people. That's what I'm going to be talking about in the workshops that start next week. At the time of recording this, I'm running a workshop next week called Start Selling Your Art. And it's about that, any age, any stage, helping you understand the steps of selling, the first steps of understanding what you have and growing the confidence in what you have. I was talking to Nicholas Wilton about this yesterday, that the biggest factor in someone selling is the confidence in what they do. Because when you can create that desire for what you have, it comes from your confidence in what you have, the confidence to go and share it, the confidence to talk about it, to know what to say about it, to go and actually drive it out into the world, the confidence and belief that that I have something here and I believe that there's a place for it. That, having that belief and that confidence in yourself is more powerful than anything. And so that's what I want to teach you in our workshops, is how to grow that confidence in what you do, how to understand the value in your artwork. Hours and hours of work and trial and error is one part of how a value can be attributed towards a final piece of artwork. There are many other ways of adding value to an artwork. And the main thing is driving desire towards what you have. And that can come through other ways. If you haven't got hours and hours and hours of work to say, here, this is why my art is valuable, there's other ways of increasing that desire, and that is through connecting people. People buy art on an emotional level, they're connected to it. The more you can heighten that connection with people, the more that you will create desire for what you have. When you create desire for what you have, the more the price goes up. That's how pricing goes up. More sales, higher price. And so the more you can create that interest for your artwork, and you're on this rising trajectory of putting it out there, attracting people over to what you do, learning how to convert people. And this is what I'm going to be talking about in the workshops. There's stages of attracting people, engaging them, and converting them. And that's what we're going to be focusing on together as a big group next week. And I can't wait, because I love going through this process with you. It helps me to reconnect with what I'm doing to go through these stages too. And so all of this contributes towards the value of your artwork in some way. And ultimately, that's what we'll be doing as well. And we'll be looking at that at the end in terms of how you then price your artwork. But just remember that there's so much more to pricing than just trying to figure out that this is what I think the price is based on what I think it's worth or what else is being sold at that time. This is another danger of people looking at someone else going, well, they're selling for this price, so I'll sell for this price. Again, nothing wrong with that, because sometimes we just have to start with what we know and look around. And I do advise this in our pricing trainings, to look at what other people are selling at. Especially if you're putting yourself into a show, it's a really good idea to see what other people are selling at. But that's one way of pricing your artwork. And you have to be careful with that way of pricing, because if, for example, you're seeing the world through a very narrow lens, in that you've got a really small group of people around you, maybe you're all starting out, you're all very unsure about pricing. So you've all priced at the really low end, and you're all comparing yourself against each other because you've got no one else to compare yourself to. So all of a sudden, let's just say £30, $30 seems like the right price because everyone else I know is pricing at that price point. And that's a really dangerous place to be, because all of a sudden you've normalized that as being, that's what I should price at. But you might be benchmarking yourself against other people that haven't got a clue about pricing, are not confident in what they do. So as much as possible, you want to come out of this little box that you've put yourself into and start to see the world through a different lens, start to see the other price points. What else is going on over here? What are people pricing at over here? Really opening your eyes to what's going on in the art world. Go out to different fairs and different shows and pay attention to price, because then all of a sudden you'll see that, oh my gosh, this £30 is really cheap. But it feels expensive over here in this little world that I'm in, where everyone else is struggling financially. And every time I say £30, they go, oh, I can't afford that. And it starts to fuel you with this idea that, yeah, that's really expensive. People can't afford this right now. It's like, no, you're just seeing the world through that little lens. And actually, there's some other great things going on. And so that's the other thing that I want to encourage you during the workshops, is we're going to start thinking out of the box, so that you can see what else is going on in the world. So be really careful when you're pricing, not to just price in that way. It is really good to know what's going on in terms of what's pricing, what other people are pricing at, but be careful of that. Be careful that you're not basing pricing on someone else who's got their pricing wrong. As much as possible, find other artists who are selling. And the great thing to ask yourself too in this is, how can I push my pricing up? I'm always encouraging people to think about that. That if you have priced at a certain price point right now, keep asking yourself, how can I get to the next level? How could I double this from now? And you might not have the answers, but to start asking the question is a great idea. How could I double the price from where I am right now? And then when you start to ask that question, you'll start to maybe look at other artists that are pricing at that price point. What are they doing? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it at that price point? Where are they putting their artwork to be able to sell at that price point? How are they talking about their artwork? And is it something that maybe you need to do to your own artwork to get it to the next level? Do you need to scale it up? Do you need to change the presentation of it in some way to make it more desirable? Because if we create more desire, the price will go up. Do I need to articulate my story some more? Maybe I'm just not resonating with people. So when you start to ask yourself how you can double the price, it starts to give you the insight of, oh, maybe there's some things I can do to create desire, because that's what will increase the price. So these are the things that we're going to talk about in the workshops next week. Excuse me. I've still got this really weird cough. I cannot let it go. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about this in the workshops next week. Start selling your art. We're going to break down this into really simple steps of taking your artwork, getting you revved up about it, helping you be able to explain what it is. looking at the purpose of the artwork, and helping you start to figure out how to connect that to other people. Can't wait to get started next week. I love running this event with you all. And so, yeah, have a think about that in terms of the value, not just being the value of that one piece. There's so much more that goes into how you value your own artwork. I'll leave that thought with you, and I'll see you next week. If you want to sign up for the event, the link is below. Take care, my friends. Have a great week.